Hello, dynasty women. When the world couldn't break her, heaven stepped in. Ever met a woman so unfazed by chaos that even life itself takes notes? She's not driven by ego, not seduced by attention, and definitely not waiting for validation. She's the Sigma female, the one woman you can't lead, can't tame, and absolutely can't predict. While the rest are busy playing chess, she's dismantling the board. Here's a fact for you. Studies have shown that high autonomy individuals, those who operate independently of external influence, are less likely to conform, submit, or fold under pressure. Now amplify that by intuition, resilience, and unapologetic self-awareness, and you've got a Sigma female, the kind of woman who makes storms feel insecure. But here's the twist. You can't break what refuses to bend. You can't tame what was born wild. And you can't humble her unless you're God. Because while she walks through this world, untouched by trends, unshaken by men, and unbothered by judgment, there is one force that doesn't knock on her door. It walks through walls. Let's talk about why only God can humble a true Sigma female. And fair warning, this isn't for the faint of spirit or the average man still hoping she'll text back. Number 1. Her identity is self-engineered, not socially assigned. A true Sigma female doesn't wear a personality handed to her by her parents, society, or pop culture. She didn't download her identity from trends or follow what others told her she should be. She built herself, alone, from scratch. She's not a product of her environment, she's the rebellion against it. And that's exactly why only God can humble her, because no one else truly understands the blueprint of her soul. She's had to peel off the layers of other people's expectations and carve out her truth with her bare hands. That's not something you can undo with a title, a threat, or a sob story. She's not moved by opinions. She's immune to shame, and guilt doesn't work on her unless it comes from a place deeper than human judgment. This woman didn't become who she is through comfort or applause. She became this way because the world gave her silence when she needed answers, rejection when she gave loyalty, and pain when all she offered was peace. So she adapted. She stopped waiting to be understood and learned to understand herself. Her identity wasn't given, it was fought for. Every trait she carries has been tested in fire. That kind of identity doesn't crack under pressure, it hardens. You can't talk her out of who she is. You can't gaslight her, manipulate her, or play power games. She's seen it all before, and she's probably already played it better. The only force capable of reaching a woman like that is one who was there before the fire, before the fight, before the trauma. Only God can touch the original version of her, the one that existed before the world tried to rename her. She doesn't need your approval. She doesn't even need your understanding. Her self-worth isn't fragile, it's engineered, and only the one who created her core can ever humble her, because he's the only one she'll actually listen to. Number 2. She has survived emotional starvation and feasts on it. She knows what it feels like to be emotionally starved, and not just once or twice. It's been a lifelong pattern, the cold shoulders, the lack of affirmation, the silent rooms where she had to cry quietly, then wipe her own tears and keep going. For most, emotional starvation is something they escape from. For the Sigma female, it's where she was built. It didn't just shape her, it sharpened her. She never learned to expect comfort from others because comfort was rarely offered. So she learned to stop needing it. She stopped hoping for someone to notice when she was hurting, or to read between the lines of her silence. She became fluent in emotional independence, and over time what should have destroyed her turned into fuel. The absence of love didn't make her bitter, it made her bulletproof. Where others collapse without validation, she thrives. She doesn't need constant reassurance. She doesn't spiral when she's misunderstood. She doesn't break when someone withdraws affection. That's familiar ground for her. It's not a punishment, it's her proving ground. In fact, when life goes quiet and people go cold, she becomes even more focused, more dangerous, more grounded. But here's the truth that cuts deep. The same emotional starvation that made her powerful also made her guarded. Her strength is unmatched, but so is her distance. No one gets in easily. Vulnerability feels like walking into a burning house. Everything in her resists it. And that's exactly where God steps in. Because only God can reach into that hardened heart and say, "You don't have to survive here anymore." Only God can make her realize that true strength isn't in needing nothing. It's in trusting something greater. Only He can make her soften without losing her edge, surrender without feeling weak, and finally receive what she's always given to others: unconditional love. Number 3. Her inner moral code is custom-built and ruthlessly enforced. The Sigma female doesn't follow the rules, she follows her rules. And those weren't passed down by parents, religion, or a hashtag movement. She built her inner moral code through lived experience, pain, and sharp observation. Every standard she holds herself to has been tested. It's not theory to her, it's law. And she doesn't compromise it, even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. She's not driven by what's popular or what makes people clap. In fact, she often goes against the grain just by existing. The world could be screaming that something is acceptable, and if it doesn't sit right with her spirit, she'll walk away without flinching. Not because she's trying to be different, but because her integrity doesn't leave room for anything fake. She'd rather stand alone in her truth than be applauded in a crowd of contradictions. And here's the kicker. She enforces that code on herself with military precision. She holds herself to a higher standard than most people could survive. She'll call herself out before anyone else gets the chance. She'll cut ties, drop habits, end cycles, no matter how painful, if it violates her internal compass. There's no one harder on her than her. But that kind of self-discipline also makes her nearly untouchable. No human can guilt her, manipulate her, or correct her path unless they've walked through fire with her, and most haven't. She doesn't just reject judgment, she dismantles it. She knows who she is, and she knows why she does what she does. And yet, even with all that steel in her spine, there's one presence that can shake her foundation: God. Not through fear or punishment, but through raw, divine confrontation. If God wants to rewrite her code, He won't do it gently. He'll do it through fire, through breaking, through undeniable truth. And she'll listen, because she knows, if He is speaking, it's not noise. It's a call to evolution. Number 4. She doesn't want to belong, she wants to transcend. She was never chasing a seat at the table. In fact, she was busy building her own while everyone else was busy networking. The Sigma female doesn't crave belonging in the way most people do. It's not because she's cold or antisocial. It's because fitting in has always felt like a form of shrinking. She refuses to edit herself just to be accepted. And let's be honest, most rooms aren't built to contain her anyway. Community can feel like a cage when your mind operates in multiple dimensions. She's not interested in echo chambers, surface-level connections, or belonging to a group that demands she mute parts of herself to stay in it. While others bond over shared complaints or status symbols, she's off in a corner contemplating the meaning of her existence, and not in a dramatic way, but in a focused, almost clinical one. She's trying to grow out of this world, not blend into it. She's outgrown most relationships, outpaced most conversations, and out-evolved the environments that once tried to hold her. Her curiosity is relentless. Her spirit is nomadic. She's always in motion, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Belonging feels like being tethered, and she didn't come here to be tied down. She came to ascend. But here's the paradox. The more she grows, the more detached she becomes. The more she transcends, the more alone it feels at the top. She's tasted everything people said would fulfill her: success, independence, even love, and still found herself staring into the void, asking, is this it? That's where only God can reach her. Not with promises of comfort or inclusion, but with truth that speaks to her cosmic hunger. She doesn't need a tribe. She needs transformation. She doesn't want belonging. She wants becoming. And only a divine presence can offer her the kind of transcendence she hasn't already tasted, mastered, or walked away from. Number 5. Human authority is an illusion to her. The Sigma female doesn't get starstruck. She doesn't flinch at titles, and she's not impressed by power plays or boardroom theatrics. She sees straight through it all, because to her, human authority is just theater. A well-rehearsed performance built on fear, manipulation, and the need to be seen as important. But she doesn't buy into the costume. She sees the scared, approval-hungry child behind the polished exterior. You can put a crown on someone's head, $1 million in their bank account and give them a stage, and she'll still be watching with quiet detachment, thinking, "That's all?" Because for her, authority without depth is just noise. Charisma without character is empty. Wealth without wisdom is a distraction. Most people are pretending, and she knows it. That's the dangerous part. She knows. Her instincts don't lie. Her intuition is trained, refined by years of disappointment, betrayal, and silent observation. She reads body language better than most therapists. She hears what people don't say. She notices the tiny cracks in the perfectly curated image. So when someone tries to assert dominance or control her, she doesn't argue. She detaches. There's no battle, just disinterest. The average person crumbles under authority. She dissects it. But there's one presence she can't analyze, outthink, or dismiss, and that's God. Not because she doesn't try, she does. She questions, resists, challenges, but God doesn't shrink under her scrutiny. He doesn't flinch under her stare. He doesn't perform. He just is. And that unnerves her in the best possible way. Because for once, she can't see through it. She can't reduce it. She can't control it. And in that rare moment when her X-ray vision fails, she finally meets something that humbles her not by force, but by truth. God is the only presence real enough, raw enough, and eternal enough to remind her that even she has a throne to bow before. Number 6. She's not a survivor. She's a spiritual apex predator. She doesn't wear the title survivor because it sounds too passive for what she's become. Survivors crawl out of wreckage. She walks out of infernos, scarred, yes, but stronger, sharper, and even more dangerous than before. Trauma didn't just happen to her. It got absorbed, processed, and repurposed. Pain became fuel. Betrayal became intel. Every hit she took was cataloged, studied, and turned into a lesson or a weapon. You can't pity her. You can't rescue her. She already did that for herself, years ago. What was supposed to break her just gave her better aim. She's not rebuilding from ruins. She's evolving from them. And she's not seeking peace as a reward for survival. She's hunting clarity, power, and purpose in the aftermath. This is why she's a spiritual apex predator. She's not out here chasing people, but she will not be prey. She smells manipulation from miles away. She senses energy shifts without needing words. She knows when someone's hiding something, even from themselves. And while most people flinch at darkness, she studies it, walks through it, and finds the blind spots everyone else is too scared to face. But here's where it gets real. When everything becomes a weapon, even love feels like a risk. She's armored herself so deeply that softness feels like exposure. Vulnerability feels like stepping into a war zone unarmed. And no human has the power to get past her defenses unless she chooses to let them in. And even then, she's still watching the exits. Only God can get her to lower that armor. Not by force, but by seeing everything. The rage, the wounds, the cold logic behind her strength, and loving her anyway. Only God can reach the part of her that she's hidden even from herself. Only a divine hand can disarm what she's forged in pain, not to weaken her, but to show her that true strength isn't in what you build to protect yourself, but in what you're willing to release to grow. Number 7, she doesn't fear being alone, she fears being caged. Being alone doesn't rattle her, it restores her. While others fear silence, she leans into it. While most chase companionship like oxygen, she breathes easier without the noise. Solitude is where she recalibrates, where her thoughts get sharper, her spirit louder, and her clarity uncontested. Loneliness isn't a wound for her, it's a weapon. It's not something she runs from, it's the space she's most dangerous in. What she does fear, though, is the feeling of being caged, controlled, cornered, misunderstood, and then boxed into someone else's idea of who she should be. That's her personal hell. The moment someone tries to possess her, confine her, or clip her wings under the disguise of love or loyalty, she'll vanish. Not dramatically, quietly, completely. Relationships that demand conformity repel her. Systems that limit her freedom don't stand a chance. She doesn't fear being unloved, she fears being contained. She's not anti-commitment, she's anti-imprisonment, and most people confuse the two. She's not hard to love, she's just impossible to own. It's not rebellion for the sake of drama, it's self-preservation. She knows that giving up her space, her rhythm, her internal fire for someone else's comfort is a slow death. And she won't do it. Not for friendship, not for romance, not for status. She doesn't chase people, She doesn't beg to be understood. She walks, alone if she has to, because freedom is her oxygen. But here's the paradox. She wants to surrender. She wants to be seen so deeply, held so honestly, and understood so thoroughly that she can finally exhale. But the only presence that doesn't threaten her freedom, doesn't distort her nature, and doesn't clip her spirit is God. He's the only one who can fully claim her without caging her, who can lead her without restraining her, who can surround her without suffocating her. Everyone else tries to fit her in a box. God built her without one. Number 8. She can outendure most men emotionally and intellectually. Most people don't understand the depth of her endurance until they've tried to break her, and failed. Emotionally, she's not just resilient, she's relentless. While others crumble under pressure, she leans into it. While many need escape, comfort, or external validation to survive tough seasons, she endures in complete silence, often without anyone realizing what she's going through until it's long over. She doesn't broadcast her pain, she absorbs it, studies it, and learns from it. She can sit with discomfort longer than most people can sit with truth. She doesn't flinch from hard conversations. She doesn't avoid uncomfortable thoughts. Where others distract themselves, she dives in head first. Her emotional endurance is forged from years of having no choice but to self-soothe, self-reflect, and self-heal. She's used to being the strong one for herself and others. Emotional chaos, she's fluent in it. Intellectually, she's just as ruthless. She sees patterns quickly, dismantles arguments easily, and can often predict outcomes before they unfold. Her mind is always working, even in silence. She's constantly analyzing, dissecting, questioning. She doesn't just think deeply, she thinks differently. She doesn't fall for charm or surface-level wisdom. She filters everything through a sharp, unflinching logic. That's why most people, even men who think they're her match, end up feeling outpaced or exposed. She's not trying to dominate, she just can't shrink herself to fit into small minds or shallow hearts. And human-level adversity, it doesn't move her anymore. She's already endured betrayal, isolation, heartbreak, financial storms, spiritual deserts, you name it. She's not numb to pain, she's simply familiar with it, comfortable even. She doesn't panic. She processes. The only force that can truly test her now is God, because only He can reach a depth she hasn't already conquered. Only divine trials, ones that touch her soul, not just her circumstances, have the power to challenge her in ways that make her pause. Only He can design a trial so precise, so intimate, that it reveals the next version of her she didn't even know existed. And that's the kind of challenge she respects. Number 9. She's not looking for a king. She's looking beyond the throne. She's not sitting around waiting for a king to choose her. She's not polishing herself up for some fairy tale ending with a man who holds power, status, or charm. Castles don't impress her. Crowns don't tempt her. She sees through all of that. The hierarchy, the roles, the performative romance, it's all noise. She doesn't want to be ruled. She doesn't want to be rescued. She wants something that shakes her soul. What she's chasing lies beyond the throne. She's looking for truth, cosmic, eternal, untamed truth. The kind that burns illusions and strips down the ego. While others are busy playing royalty games, trying to be chosen, worshipped, or followed, she's after alignment, not admiration. She doesn't want someone to sit next to her on a throne. She wants something that makes the throne irrelevant. Men try to rule her, charm her, lead her, but she doesn't follow. Not unless the path is lit with something real, the kind of real that transcends human desire and taps into purpose. And most men, even the strong ones, are still playing the same old game. Control masked as leadership, validation disguised as love. She sees it, respects the effort, but keeps walking. She doesn't hate men. She's just unimpressed by power that's not anchored in purpose. She's not here to be part of someone's empire. She's here to transcend empires. She was built for more than gold and admiration. She was built to evolve, to awaken, to unfold. And the only presence that doesn't try to contain her in a crown, a title, or a romance arc is God. God doesn't try to own her, He refines her. He doesn't offer her a seat beside Him. He offers her transformation within Him, not through status, but through surrender, not through control, but through calling. That's why she'll never settle for a king, because she's not a queen waiting to be claimed. She's a force waiting to be ignited, and only God knows where to strike the match. Number 10. Her loyalty is not for sale, not even with love. You can't buy her loyalty with romance, attention, or even love. She's not interested in being needed. She's interested in being understood. Most people confuse attachment with loyalty, but she doesn't. She doesn't stick around because of history, emotions, or guilt. She stays when the connection is rooted in something real, purpose, alignment, truth. If that's not there, she'll walk. No drama, no resentment, just quiet detachment. And once she's gone, there's no convincing her to return. She doesn't bond through fear of being alone. She doesn't stay because she's afraid of starting over. She's perfectly willing to love deeply, but not blindly. Her loyalty is not an obligation. It's a conscious decision made every day based on what's real, not what's convenient. You can be charming, devoted, even madly in love with her, and it still won't be enough if your soul doesn't speak the same language as hers. People try to earn her loyalty with gestures, gifts, grand declarations. She sees right through it. She's not moved by theatrics. She's moved by energy, by truth, by presence. She's watching who you are when no one's looking. She's listening to what you don't say. And she's testing, silently, if your values actually align with hers, or if you're just mirroring her to stay close. She's not looking for someone to complete her. She's already whole. She's looking for resonance, something rare, something rooted, something holy. If your presence doesn't elevate her, she'll respect you, but she won't tether herself to you. Only God can meet her at that level. Only He can match her intensity with clarity, her depth with direction, her loyalty with something eternal. He doesn't manipulate, He doesn't beg. He simply is unshakable, true, and absolutely aligned with the highest version of who she's becoming. That's the kind of loyalty she gives herself to, not because she has to, but because for once, she's found a presence that doesn't need to be earned, only answered. Number 11. She doesn't forgive easily because she forgets pain strategically. She doesn't hand out forgiveness like it's candy. Not because she's bitter, but because she remembers with intention. Pain doesn't own her, it informs her. When someone hurts her, she doesn't always react outwardly. Instead, she files it away, coldly and cleanly, like a surgeon. She doesn't explode, she extracts. Emotionally and mentally, she steps back, pulls the file on your behavior, and stores it where it won't be forgotten, but won't be allowed to derail her either. She doesn't scream, "You hurt me." She simply recalibrates her energy around you. And when she forgives, it's not always an invitation back in. It's more like a system update. Forgiveness for her isn't emotional release, it's strategic. It's her way of freeing up mental space, cutting emotional drain, and keeping her internal operating system clean. She's not dwelling, she's decluttering. People think she's heartless because she can move on without closure. But the truth is, she gave herself closure the moment she saw the pattern. She may not call you out, but she won't call you again either. Her silence isn't confusion, it's a decision. She forgives in the same way she plans, efficiently, quietly, and with long-term consequences. But the trade-off of living this way is heavy. Because she doesn't fully feel her pain in the moment, she stores it, compresses it, labels it "not now." And over time, that emotional database grows dense, full, complicated. Her heart becomes more guarded, her memory more curated, and her spirit a little more armored. Only God can truly reset that system. Only He can go back into the hidden folders, the locked-away grief, the unspoken betrayals she pretended didn't matter. Only He can reach into the archive she never shows anyone and say, "Let's clear this, fully. Not for them, but for you." Because she doesn't need more strength, she's mastered that. What she needs is holy restoration, and only God knows where she hid the parts of herself she forgot to forgive. Number 12. She doesn't evolve in public, she mutates in private. She doesn't do loud transitions. No long captions, no announcements, no dramatics. When something in her starts to shift, she doesn't perform it for an audience. She vanishes. She knows real transformation isn't always pretty. It's messy, uncomfortable, chaotic. It requires silence, space, and sometimes a little self-destruction. So she slips away, into her own world, her own war, her own process. And when she comes back, she's not just changed, she's mutated. Completely restructured from the inside out. People think she's inconsistent because they can't track her. But that's the point. She doesn't grow on schedule or in the spotlight. Her evolution doesn't need validation, it needs solitude. Her silence isn't weakness, it's incubation. While others are trying to document their healing for applause, she's doing the raw, ugly, unfiltered work where no one can see, and more importantly, where no one can interfere. She's not interested in letting the world watch her bleed just to prove she's healing. She knows how easily people can project, distract, or dilute real progress. So she keeps her metamorphosis sacred, internal, divine. She doesn't want input, she wants accuracy. And sometimes the only way to get that is to go dark, burn it all down, and rebuild without witnesses. But even in that darkness, she's not alone. There's one presence she doesn't shut out, God. He sees the unspoken fears, the doubts she hides behind strength, the confusion wrapped in her confidence. He witnesses the version of her that even she hasn't met yet. The one still forming in the shadows, still learning how to rise without resentment, still shedding identities she outgrew years ago. By the time she re-emerges, people barely recognize her, and that's exactly how she likes it. Because evolution isn't supposed to be comfortable, and the next version of her isn't built for their expectations, she's built for his vision. The Sigma female isn't just rare, she's a phenomenon. She doesn't fit molds, she breaks them. She doesn't play games, she rewrites rules. While most are seeking approval, comfort, or a place to belong, she's already 10 steps ahead, building herself in silence, enduring storms alone, and evolving past every limitation handed to her. You can't impress her. You can't intimidate her. And you definitely can't humble her. Because the world already tried, and she turned it into fuel. But beneath that titanium core is a truth even she doesn't say out loud. She's not unbreakable. She's just unreachable by ordinary means. Her soul doesn't respond to noise, trends, or human pressure. It responds only to something higher, something eternal, something divine. Only God knows the battles she fought in private. Only He understands the blueprint behind her silence, her distance, her depth. And only He has the authority to challenge her without caging her, to love her without softening her edge, and to humble her not by force, but by presence. Because at the end of the day, it's not about taming her. It's about awakening her. The world might mistake her solitude for arrogance, her strength for coldness, her independence for rebellion. But God sees it for what it truly is, a soul forged in fire, waiting for a higher calling. And when He calls, she listens. Not because she has to, but because finally, she's found a voice louder than her pain, wiser than her instincts, and greater than herself. Not everyone will understand her. That's fine. She wasn't built to be understood. She was built to be unshakable until God moves her. And when He does, the world better pay attention. That's when the real evolution begins. If this spoke to something deep in you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even feel seen in a way most content doesn't, then don't just scroll away. Subscribe to the channel and join a space that actually gets you. We don't do surface here. We go deep, we go bold, and we go all the way into truth. Like this video if you felt the fire. Drop a comment if you're walking this path too. Let's build a community where powerful women don't have to water themselves down. Share this with someone who needs to remember who they are or who they're becoming. Because this isn't just content. This is a movement. And if you're still reading, you're probably part of it. Welcome home. Now hit that subscribe button. Let's keep building.